Hmm. No. I guess. It looks very clear. Now, voice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It looks very clear. Now, voice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Voice. It looks very clear. Now, voice 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Voice. It looks very clear. Now, voice. S.W.Frost 1 is now live streaming Call of Duty Modern Warfare. It looks very clear. Now, voice. S.W.Frost 1 is now live streaming Call of Duty Modern Warfare. It looks very clear. 1, 2. S.W.Frost 1 is now live streaming Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Okay.
Ro.
Wait.
Welcome to my channel.
What the fuck is
PSHA.
What the fuck is in
Welcome to my channel. Regress. Welcome to my channel. Nightbot. Welcome to my channel.
The bitrate
Stream Elements. Welcome to my channel.
is unstable? Really? Huh.
Drapsnat. Welcome to my channel. HVDES. Welcome to my channel.
Hmm. Okay, let's try Call of Duty.
Opinion,
Markson.
Charlie. What
Welcome
makes
to my
you
channel.
think? I'm not asking this as like a debate or anything. Like in earnest, what is your opinion between?
I think happened here.
That's really smart. Yeah, I think that's a really good way of meeting in the middle. The main thing is just making sure we have the ability to see what happened during a trial. I think is extremely
I
important.
100% agree with that.
Let me ask this because I haven't really thought about this before. but I'm interested in your opinion, Charlie. What makes you think? I'm not asking this as like a debate or anything. Like in earnest, what is your opinion between televised trials then versus televised trials now? What's the difference?
I think the big thing back then is everyone was tuned into like TV and stuff, and if you were on TV, everyone made a huge deal out of it, right? But nowadays, it's like no one really cares that much because everything is everywhere. But back then, that is your chance to make statements. If you're on TV,
I see
you're
what
the
you're saying.
spotlight. Yeah.
It's your rare opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, that is your time to shine. All eyes on you.
Okay, let me ask this. Would you think maybe, I see how that would relate to normal trials, like if televised, you know, kind of standard trials, but take a case like the Rittenhouse case where everyone was watching that. Do you think that maybe that old idea comes back when it's a super public case, when like everyone's watching it?
I don't know. That's a good question. I definitely like, so another one would be like Amber Heard death trial.
Right. Yeah.
That's another one you could pull from as well. I don't know if those really have like a huge effect though on how those play out nowadays. To be honest, it just feels like it's just very different now than it would be then. But I don't know. Maybe I'm a little delusioned on it, perhaps.
No, it's an interesting point. I get what you're saying, that back then that was kind of your moment, right? Having that many eyes on you is a rare occasion. I get that.
I think it's like the effect is
Welcome
less
to my
because, like
channel.
you said, those events back then were more prestigious in terms of like there were 95 million people tuning into this kind of. It was an enormous event. I still think that happens now though, like again with the Amber Heard stuff, and I do think it impacts the actual flow of justice in that case because people still showboat. People definitely, like witnesses still like know they're on camera and people are watching at home. Like the Amber Heard stuff was like heavily live streamed across like all those, you know, Twitch political channels as well as like React channels like yourself. Like it was an enormous event, and while, you know, I don't think it impacted the justice element of it too much, I think that there is some level of people playing things up when they know that, you know, it's being streamed to that many people or it's that much of a big event.
I think your perspective on it's probably the best one, Jackson, where all of it should be filmed and released after the fact, so that way nothing has any kind of like chance to affect the justice of things.
Yeah, I think that's probably
smart.
makes the most sense.
Kind of like how interrogations are handled, right?
Yeah.
They're filmed for...
Release them so that people can still investigate them if they want to investigate them.
Keep them accountable. Keep the courts accountable. Yeah. I agree.
Okay, so in this case, Judge Ito seemed to enjoy the cameras, and many thought he used the Simpson case to further his own career agenda and celebrity status. That's Los Angeles for you, baby. Everyone was... And he was criticized for appearing in He was married to Margaret York, who was ED in the highest. And believe it or not, this little fact will come back in a big way later in the case, which is why I needed to include it there, which is crazy. So yeah, everyone, literally everyone in this case was kind of using this to advance their own celebrity status, which I don't know if it was the situation itself kind of built that up in these people, or if it's just that they were all in Los Angeles and everyone wanted to be a celebrity in general in Los Angeles, which is kind of the impression that I get. All right, so next up, let's talk about the Dream Team. This is it literally is the Dream Team. These guys were insane. It's like the Avengers of legal teams. So this was the defense team. I'm going to go over each of the defense members, the defense counsel, to give a kind of short biography of each of them so that you kind of get an understanding of the skill of the members, because, it is incredible what they were able to accomplish with this. So, first up, we've got Johnny Cochran, who, just before the jury was first seated, Johnny Cochran became the leader of Simpson's defense. He is credited for bringing the arguments about race into the trial. This led to overall reviews of practices within the LAPD. Cochran was said to demonstrate an enormous level of skill at connecting with the jurors and demonstrating the incompetence of the police. Johnny was just like, he's a
Saul Goodman type.
He's super charismatic individual, like just very charming. The jury loved him, the court loved him, everyone loved him. He was very good at what he did. Cochran is most famous for the quote that is still remembered as the defining moment of the trial today. I'll let Charlie say it.
glove doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Yep, that was him. Yeah, I'm sure everyone knows that quote. What a just incredible quote.
Have you seen the video of him saying it?
Yeah.
He's like a pastor. If the glove doesn't fit, like he's so into it.
He's so good. I mean, he was so good. It cannot be understated how good Johnny Cochran was.
There was someone in the jury who heard that line and was like, I don't care what said after this. I have to quit him. That's
it's just for some reason, human brains, if there's a compelling rhyme that hits it, it's way more effective. So that quote refers to the bloody gloves found at the crime scene, and Johnny Cochran, after this case, would also go on to represent Sean Combs, Michael Jackson, Tupac, Jim Brown, Snoop Dogg in his own murder case, among others. So he became kind of a, celebrity lawyer at that point, defense lawyer. Next up, we have Robert Kardashian. Yes, the Kardashians are involved in this one as well.
Yep. This is how they got started too, right?
Yep, this was their big rise.
Yep.
So Robert Kardashian is the father of the famous Kardashians, Kourtney, Khloe, and Kim, and the wife of Kris Jenner. Him and his wife, Kris, were good friends with Simpson and Nicole, which is absolutely
He's the wife of Kris Jenner.
Wait, he and his wife, Kris.
Yeah, there you go.
They were good friends with Simpson and Nicole. How is that not like an enormous conflict? Anyway, although he did not usually take on cases of this nature, he was invited to join the defense team by Robert Shapiro, another member of the defense team. Some believe that he was asked to join the team as a way of avoiding being a character witness in the trial. So he was just brought onto the team so he wouldn't be able to testify against Simpson, which is an incredible tactic. I don't know how that's legal, but apparently. Many know Robert Kardashian from when he read Simpson's suicide note live on TV on June 17, 1994. In this letter, Simpson talks about how much he loved Nicole and he had nothing to do with her murder. They had mutually decided to go separate ways, he claimed, and although hard, he says he knew it was for the best. He thanks his friends, family, and even says sorry to the Goldman family, Ron Goldman's family. He wants people to think of the real OJ and not this lost person. After the case, Kardashian went on to do interviews where he claimed he doubted Simpson's innocence, and if he had the option to do it all again, he probably wouldn't.
Man, he doubted his innocence, huh?
I get, like, this is a massive part of the legal system. The defense team has to operate in the best interest of the defendant, because that is the principle of the legal system itself. Everyone is entitled to a defense. But to do that,
welcome to my
with
channel.
Someone that is so clearly guilty, like it must be so hard.
It makes me mad because the way it works, yes, everyone should have their side argued in a case like this, absolutely. But it also comes out in a scenario where people who are obviously guilty will get off through like a trick or a loophole of the legal system, and everyone's like, "Oh, well, justice was served." Exactly. Yeah. Like it's frustrating.
Yeah, it's annoying. I think Robert Kardashian is awful for doing that, but I get that it's a tricky situation when you're an actual defense lawyer. So next up, Robert Shapiro. I don't think there's any relation to Ben Shapiro. I did check into that. They just have the same last name, no relation. Robert Shapiro was the original lead in the Dream Team, but went on to give his position to Johnny Cochran, which I think is because Johnny Cochran is an African-American man, and I think they all knew that would have an enormous sway in how this would
Welcome to my channel.
Correctly. He is often credited for the police inviting Simpson to turn himself in instead of being chased and arrested. Shapiro has later stated in his book, The Search for Justice, that he was never certain that Simpson wasn't guilty. So again, it is also my girlfriend.
Lawyers.
all his lawyers knew he was guilty. As Charlie said, so did everyone. Everyone knew that he was guilty.
There's no one that knew the case that thought he was innocent. Not the jury, not either of the teams. Like, everybody knew.
My girlfriend, in the research period of creating this document, was showing me pictures of when the verdict was read. And you just look at his defense team, and they all look like they hate themselves so deeply at that moment.
Yep.
Like, Robert Shapiro is just shocked.
When it gets read out, Simpson, he doesn't cheer or anything. He's like surprised. He's like, "Oh, okay."
I got away with it.
Like, what? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he from the very beginning, he didn't plan this out or anything. Like, he knew he was dead to rights. Like, he went on a police chase. bought a
Horrible
fucking
murder,
late night plane ticket. Like he was ready to kill himself, I guess. Like he knew there was no way out, and yet they were able to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat
Yeah.
by abusing a broken legal system.
It wasn't the legal
Yeah.
system itself that was broken. I
Oh,
really
yeah, I
think it was
guess, yeah.
social perception.
That's fair.
It mostly comes down to the division in America itself at the time. We'll get into that down the line. Alright, so the final two people on the defense team, F. Lee Bailey. F. Lee Bailey was brought onto the team by his friend Robert Shapiro. He's most famous for his cross-examination of LAPD Detective Mark Furman during his testimony. He said in a press conference leading up to this that, quote, any lawyer in his right mind who would not be looking forward to cross-examining Mark Furman is an idiot. So F. Lee Bailey was very confident, and he enjoyed. I think out of all of the defense attorneys, he probably enjoyed this case the most. I think he thought of it as a game almost. So he's an interesting character. Bailey was already a well-known lawyer before joining Simpson's team, being a part of some of the most high-profile cases of the 20th century, like the Patricia Heard case, an heiress who became a bank robber. He was disbarred in Massachusetts and Florida for misconduct, which amounted to his mishandling of client funds during his representation of a drug dealer in 1994, in 2001 and 2003, with Robert Shapiro being responsible for his disbarment. So two of the defense attorneys here would later on go to to be at odds
The lore,
down the line.
the OJ lore. Yep.
And finally, we come to the final member of the defense team. One of the most well-known lawyers of all time, probably, right? Like he's still.
He's gotta be. He's gotta be.
Him and Cochran, yeah, for sure.
Yep. So the final member is Alan Dershowitz, the Harvard. I think he's the head of Harvard in terms of law, right? Like he's a.
I think so.
Something like that. So Alan Dershowitz is another very prominent lawyer who has also represented the likes of Jeffrey Epstein, because he comes up in every single Red Thread
Our old
episode.
favorite.
It is actually crazy how often Jeffrey Epstein comes up.
Yeah, that's one of the Red Threads boys right there.
Jackson put you in the driver's seat of Epstein at one point.
Yeah, you should all be able to relate. Well, not relate. You should all be able to connect.
Should all
Jeffrey
be able to
Epstein.
relate to Epstein, yeah. Yeah, I know what
so
you're trying to say.
He's also represented the likes of Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump, Harvey Weinstein, and more. So just great company for Alan Dershowitz. He takes on all the best cases, and OJ was there with them.
The best of the best.
So in later years, Dershowitz has said that if he was contacted by the victims' families first, he probably would have represented them. But he also described Simpson as someone, quote, the police tried to frame, which I don't agree with, and I think
Well,
that
of course, he was
is
paid to do it. He was paid to say that.
paid
Absolutely.
to say that, yeah. But yeah, Alan Dershowitz is a very colorful figure now, right? In terms of how controversial he is. I don't actually know what's so controversial about him. I just know that he is a controversial figure. I think there's some allegations.
Epstein documents. Yeah, Epstein documents have Alan Dershowitz in there.
The Trump, whenever all the stuff was happening with his trials and stuff like that, Dershowitz was the one who was representing. He had all the paperwork that was supposedly being hidden from the public, stuff like that. Anytime there's some high-profile political case, he's involved somehow.
Right, gotcha. Alright, and then to finish up this little section of biographies, it's important to also go over the prosecution team, since we're getting kind of biographies of everyone in the courtroom, everyone that would become a main figure. So the head of the prosecution was a woman named Marsha Clark. Clark with no E on the end, no relation to me. Leading the prosecution team was Marsha Clark, a lawyer who had been handling trials in downtown LA for 10 years by the time she was given the Simpsons case. Clark came under heavy criticism from the media. She was going through a divorce during the trial and unfortunately had to cancel a court date due to being unable to find childcare. This, and a focus on her appearance for some stupid fucking reason, allowed the media to run wild against her in a dramatized manner that amounted to a semi-smear campaign. So because she was a female lawyer at the time, of course the media itself ran wild with like gossip stuff towards Marsha Clark, which I definitely think unfortunately played a role in kind of trivializing the prosecution team itself, kind of like delegitimized her and the team, so that's unfortunate. And then we have Christopher Darden, the other prominent member of the prosecution team. Christopher Darden was brought onto the prosecution team by Marsha Clark. He did not have much criminal trial experience, mostly working in the Special Investigation Division of the LA prosecutor office. Darden has also come under fire for his actions in the case. The case took a very personal toll on Darden as an African-American man who was seen as a, quote, traitor to his own race. More recently, he has said that he found the experience extremely painful and painful. In 1995, at an award ceremony, there was a black and... Jesus Christ. Black and forth?
Jesus.
Bro. Look, I know you're Australian, and maybe things are different over there, but you can't talk like that here. Okay.
Being
Gotta tone
tongue-tied.
it down.
What's that called? Not social faux pas. What's it when you read a word the wrong way?
Getting it wrong?
No. There's a term when you...
Freudian slip? Is that what that was
yeah,
for you?
Freudian, yeah, Freudian slip.
No, Freudian slips when you say what you're really thinking. Don't
Yeah,
say
you-
that's
oh,
what you
never
just did.
Not it. Okay, in 1995 at an award ceremony, there was a back and forth between Cochran and Darden. Cochran made remarks about welcoming Darden back into the black community. In an acceptance speech, Darden commented that he didn't need to be let back in, he never left. Darden has also commented that on the day of the verdict, he went to his office, retrieved his belongings, and never went back. However, it has been reported that he was actually fired from the DA's office, so that wasn't as cool as it was made out to be. So yeah, a very difficult situation for Christopher Darden to be in, and I hate that it was a difficult situation because this should have never been about race in the first place. And it should be about people equally arguing for the defense and equally arguing for the prosecution, regardless of their race.
That's
The
what
fact
I mean about tricks being pulled. The lawyers,
Yeah.
his defense worked in like social issues of the time in order to make it not a murder trial and instead to make it like a civil rights trial over a guy who brutally murdered his ex-wife and a guy who just so happened to be there. And like I really want to emphasize, not just from the pictures I saw at that museum, but also just like the details of it in general, it is hard to explain how much of a monster O.J. Simpson was. Or, sorry, allegedly. Whoever did it, we'll never know.
Well, he's dead now. You can say it. He can't come get you anymore.
That's true, but I don't know what his family's like
Actually true.
Defense would say about that. Whoever did it was so much of a monster, like stabbing someone over 20 times, cutting someone's head off with a knife, like the amount of blood that was tracked from the house outside on the steps even. It's like a bear ripped these people apart. Horrific murder. And then to make that into like, well, a civil rights issue or whatever, like gosh, it's frustrating.
Yeah, there were no mitigating factors there either. It's not like this was a crime of like, a self-defense case, or
Yeah,
he wasn't like, it wasn't racially motivated. The case itself, like the murder itself, there was no like racial element to it. It's just what happened afterwards in terms of the trial that kind of incorporated that element to the defense team's benefit. Okay, so now we come to the longest part of this document, which is the actual trial itself.
I'll take it if you want. I don't mind reading.
Yeah, I think
documents.
maybe you guys should split it as well because it is quite a long one.
Alright, I'll
Okay.
start it and then you can come in, Isaiah.
Sounds hot.
Tag team it.
Alright. The prosecution began with their opening statements, Darden emphasizing the importance of remembering the victims' families. He went on to describe how Simpson was extremely possessive and controlling over Nicole and had physically and emotionally abused her over the past 17 years. This ended up with him killing Nicole when he couldn't have her. Then Clark took over, where she would describe more of the evidence that had been discovered. He talked about the incriminating blood found in pools by the gate, the Bronco, and on the gloves, and also the trail leading from the house. She was unable to yet mention that the blood was Simpson's due to an objection made by the defense that requested this information be held until a forensic expert called. This is an excerpt from Darden's statement. He killed her, Nicole Brown, and jealously, he killed her because he couldn't have her. Cochran then proceeded with the defense's opening statement. He took an unexpected, more mellow approach to his statement, reminding the jury that you have to be certain beyond all reasonable doubt to find someone guilty in a court of law. He remarked that the case is a rush of judgment and an obsession to win at any cost. He laid down a lot of groundwork for the defensive strategy of showing the imbalanced racial system of law in this country. He quoted Martin Luther King saying, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." Cochran also talked about witnesses who allegedly been ignored by the police, one being Marianne Gerchas, who was waved off by the police and told they had it all wrapped up so her testimony was not necessary. Bringing up witnesses should have been objected by the prosecution, as opening statements aren't arguing for evidence, but for some inexplicable reason, it wasn't. Prosecution brought in their first witness at the end of January 1995, Sharon Gilbert. Gilbert, a 911 operator, was brought in to verify evidence of a call that came in to 911 the night Nicole was attacked. She verified she could hear a woman screaming and being struck. Many people close to Nicole and Simpson, including Nicole's sister Denise and even Simpson's own friend Ron Shipp, testified that Simpson was abusive and the relationship was incredibly tumultuous. Denise talked about how Simpson had called her sister a fat pig when she was pregnant, and once grabbed her crotch in public one night and exclaimed, "This belongs to me." In cross-examination, Denise was questioned heavily about having a drinking problem, which she agreed she did have, which impacted her credibility.
Which is so stupid. Like, just because she's
That
an
has not- yeah.
alcoholic.
It has nothing to do with anything at all. It doesn't even ruin her credibility. It's not like she's fucking hallucinating while drunk.
Yeah, come on. Such a joke.
This led to the defense using her alcoholism to question the validity of her statements. Ron Shipp, who was a retired LAPD officer, claimed that Simpson had told him that he didn't want to take a lie detector test because he had dreams of killing Nicole. He also alleges that Simpson changed his story multiple times about the cut on his hand and asked him questions to the effect of how long does it take for DNA to come back. Simpson, in Shipp's mind, was guilty and held no doubts about the case. At this point in the trial, it seemed that prosecution had gotten off to a better start than the defense. They had outlined the abusive behavior of Simpson, and the defense had seemed to have struggled with their cross-examinations of the witnesses beyond throwing Denise's credibility into question. Simpson was also asked to show the jury the finger which prosecution claimed was injured from him murdering Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman, but Shapiro brought up the suggestion that his finger was simply permanently swollen from arthritis. Simpson claimed that he had cut his hand on glass after the murders when he learned about them. Wait, he claimed that he cut his hand on glass after he learned about the murder. So what, he got like really upset and like broke a glass?
threw a glass at the wall.
Yeah.
Damn you! Damn you, whoever killed Nicole Brown.
Whoever did this will be brought to justice, I swear it.
Ouch, my finger.
The cut on his finger is pointed as the cut on his finger is pointed as one of the main reasons the police suspected Simpson, with Detective Philip Vanatter testifying that the finger was cut and swollen when he saw Simpson the day after the murders.
That can't be one of the main reasons that
Yeah, I was
they
gonna say.
suspected him.
The blood on the car, the bloody gloves, like there's plenty of other things besides
The
just a
years
cut.
of threatening to kill her.
Yeah.
So you'll see eventually down the line, but the reason the defense team won wasn't entirely just because of the racial element that they, the arguments that they produced through the defense.
They cut enough of a hole that they were able to fill that with doubt.
Yeah, a lot of it comes down, or at least a fair percentage of it comes down to the ineptitude of the prosecution and the what do you call it, the LAPD, like itself.
Yeah.
There was a lot of ineptitude here.
When on the stand, Detective Vanatter stepped down to examine Simpson's finger, where he said, "It didn't look swollen to me." The defense also asked Detective Vanatter what a Colombian necktie was. He didn't know the answer and was unable to provide a response. This made the jury gasp and was seemingly asked by the defense in order to make Vanatter look clueless.
Like a trivia game.
Yeah, like what the fuck is that?
So
What-
a Colombian necktie is when you cut someone,
yeah.
like it's a mob thing where you cut the neck and pull the tongue out through the hole in the neck. It's like a necktie.
What does that have to do with anything?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, so you're a police officer? Can you tell us about this obscure murder method in South America? No? Well, I guess you don't know what O.J. Simpson really did that night, do you? Like, what?
Yeah, so you claim that you're a detective. What's a Alaskan pipeline then, huh? What's
The
that
jury,
mean?
the jury gasping is so funny because they're like, "How could he not know of the Colombian necktie? Surely this man is
Yeah,
not fit for office." Like,
As if any of them knew what a Colombian
Yeah.
necktie was
yeah.
either.
This was a jury in the '90s. Like,
Jesus Christ. Shockingly, this was never struck down as an objection by the prosecution for being irrelevant. And even more astonishingly, it seemingly worked as the jury seemed to discount Vanatter as a reliable witness from
It's
that
so
point on.
stupid.
That's so dumb.
It's like
That's so dumb.
Detective Vanatter.
How
Do you know
does
what a
the
Cleveland
prosecu-
steamer is? Like, what are you
How,
asking here?
how could the prosecution not be like, objection, relevance, they're done, your lead witness is back on? Like, what?
I mean,
That's just-
they didn't object enough in general. Like, they really
No.
didn't.
It sounds like they didn't object at all, yeah.
We see that a lot, though. We see that a lot in cases where there must be some reason that they don't object. Usually, maybe they get like
No,
reprimanded if they do.
I was gonna say the opposite. Like in a lot of televised trials, it's nothing but like constantly spamming objection. They're going overruled, objection, stop, overruled. Like they do it all the time now. Maybe it wasn't common back then. I don't know.
I don't know.
Stupid.
Vanatter also offered answers to try and dispel any theories around someone planting the blood at Simpson's house. He talked about how he handled the vial of blood after it was drawn and how he took it personally to a criminalist at Simpson's home where there was currently a search warrant being served.
Folks,
Simpson's former house guest
welcome to
Brian
my channel.
Palin was called to the stand to testify. He acknowledged that he was Simpson's friend and said he would be 100% honest. He talked about how Simpson had said he was giving up on attempts to reconcile with his boyfriend, and that she did not allow him to spend time with his daughter, but he did not seem angry about this. He had complained about how tight her dress was on a previous night of a recital, and Kalen said he heard 3 thumps sometime between 10:40 p.m. and 10:45 p.m., but he was scared to go outside and check as he only had a small flashlight. He even demonstrated the thumps on the desk so everyone knew what it sounded like. Eventually leaving the house shortly after, he got distracted by a limousine waiting at the front of the house that was there to take Simpson to the airport. He helped Simpson get his luggage into the car, but said there was one item, a black knapsack, Simpson wanted to put in the trunk solely by himself. Kalen was also asked if he had seen the cuts on Simpson's hand in the evening prior to the murder, but he said he didn't. Alan Park was a chauffeur who had been hired to take Simpson to the airport for his flight to Chicago at 10:45 p.m. When he arrived, he did not see any car out front of the house and didn't see the Bronco that night. Park said that when he arrived, he spent 15 minutes trying to contact someone inside across the intercom. He then got in contact with his boss, who told him that Simpson usually ran late, and if no one was there by 11:15, he could go home. He called his boss at 10:52, and during this conversation, a figure caught his eye. A person he now identified as Kalen. He saw him walk from behind the house onto a pathway with a small flashlight and stopped right before the driveway. He looked at Park and then away when another figure caught Park's attention. Someone came into the entrance from where the driveway started, described as 6 foot 200 pounds, wearing all black clothing, and an African American. He could not describe if it was a female or male, and he could not say if it was Simpson, but the person was around the same size.
Hold on. This is at Simpson's house, correct?
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, I pulled up at Simpson's house to pick up Simpson, and then a guy walked in who looked exactly like Simpson, but I can't be sure if it was Simpson.
Well, I mean, you can't testify.
I mean, you can't testify, but good lord, man. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think he says like.
he was wearing Simpson's jersey. I don't know if that's connected.
He was wearing. He had his.
He had a football helmet on.
I knew it was him.
Park then went and buzzed the intercom again. This time Simpson answered, saying he had overslept and would be down in a minute. Driving Simpson to the airport, Park described Simpson was hot and needed the aircon on, and he had sweat on his forehead. He also talked about the duffel bag that Simpson had insisted on carrying himself, which was about 1.5 feet small, but big enough to possibly house the murderer. The prosecution began to lay out the DNA evidence that they had, but since it was the 90s, the understanding and science behind DNA testing was nowhere near what it is now.
Yeah, I think it was like a hard thing to sell to a jury at the time. Like
Yeah.
this new technology.
It was seen as
that-
more skeptic science.
Yeah.
The prosecution tried to explain what DNA was to the jury, bringing in criminologist Dennis Fung. It is widely agreed that Fung struggled with connecting to the jury and struggled on the stand. It's a popularly held belief that juries' connections to witnesses are crucial to the outcome. A charismatic expert witness is far more useful than a witness that the jury will struggle to connect to. Fung and Robin Cotton, also a criminologist, testified that due to Simpson's rare blood type, the possibility of the DNA found on the gloves and the victim belonging to anyone else was 1 in 170 million.
I hate that.
even if you don't know what DNA is, you would still not really question the authority of these witnesses, right? So you'd hear that like outrageously unlikely probability and probably be like, oh, this is pretty likely it's the same guy, right?
That's what drives me crazy about courts, because it's all a shot in the dark about if the jury can like have reasonable thinking, because they see a guy who, like, sure, they don't get exactly what he means, but he says something like, well, the chances are 1 in 170 million, and they're like, I don't really think I liked his vibe.
I didn't understand him.
Yeah, I don't think I liked him. I'm gonna choose to ignore that.
Yeah.
Where's the
Yeah,
funny
like
guy?
the guy doing nursery rhymes with the glove doesn't fit, acquit, like that went like hard.
Yeah. That was very compelling. Very compelling.
That went pretty hard, yeah. It's like good. I hope that the jury, you know, can think reasonably, because if not, we'll see where the case goes. Like,
I would like to think that if I was up there, even if like Fung came out and he was like the biggest nerd, just the most monotone voice that put me to sleep immediately, like, or he was just like insulting me in between every sentence, and I like genuinely disliked him immensely. If he still said it was a 1 in 170 million, odds that the DNA is the same, and how rare that is, and how that ties Simpson to the crime, and he was an expert witness in the sense that his credibility was unquestioned, then I think, regardless of my optics on who he was as a person, I think I would believe that. I would hope.
I don't know, Jackson. Was he cool? Was he a cool cat?
Yeah, Jackson.
He's gonna come out doing like a kickflip or something on a skateboard.
Did he have a nice suit? Did he have the vibes? You know.
If only he put it in a digestible rhyme. Like they should have
He comes out with the beatbox. Yo, I'm gonna tell you about DNA. Like,
Yeah, like the Bill Nye section.
Yeah, they should have had Bill Nye talk about DNA. Bill.
It is so annoying how tightly connected the charisma of a witness is to how valid their argument, or how valid their testimony is to a jury. I hate that. But I don't know what the solution is.
I don't know, maybe like the jury has to complete some kind of like logical thinking
An
course,
IQ
perhaps.
test. Yeah. They have to have like a 90 IQ to be selected for a jury.
I mean, but there's 12 people on a jury. Surely the odds are that some of them are like smart enough to
Garza,
still be cool with it.
welcome to my
Yeah,
channel.
but the issue is if you have like 2 smart people in there, they're gonna get bullied in the conversation room until they agree with whatever the 10 others say, who are entirely going by emotions and feelings. Like, anyway.
Fung was cross-examined by Barry Scheck, who focused less on scientific details and more about specific details of the police report. After hours of questioning, he asked Fung about bloody socks and if he could see any visible blood. Fung simply said no with no further explanation, but he could have talked about how blood and DNA does not have to be visible to be present. He contradicted himself several times, with Scheck using this to his advantage. Fung had said that he was at the scene of the crime when he was given the blood sample and not in the lab. Even though this was a normal practice, Scheck made it out to be something harmful to the case, and Fung never clarified. After his testimony, he walked to the prosecution bench and shook the lawyer's hand, and then went to the defense table and did the same. Fung's disastrous testimony was an emergency for the prosecution, and they now turned to damage control. They had seemingly lost control of their most important piece of forensic evidence to an effective cross-examination and an apathetic prosecutorial response. They called criminologist Colin Yamauchi, who held himself much better than Fung. He confirmed that all 3, those being Simpson's, Nicole's, and Goldman's blood, were found in Simpson's bedroom. He testified that the blood evidence found in and on the multiple locations and evidence were without a doubt Simpson's. Simpson's defense of saying he had mishandled evidence is clarified that he followed procedures to the letter, and also effectively questioned the credibility of the defense team's forensic expert who had previously been found guilty of questionable conduct with the evidence items. Yeah, he fucking slam dunked himself.
Yeah. Good on you, Colin Yamauchi. Kind of like a correction after the disastrous Fung situation. It was really bad, like what Fung did there. Like the jury sees him walk up and shake the hands of the prosecution and stuff. That actually does play a significant impact on how the jury's going to perceive events from that point on. Goes into question his credibility. But
Yeah, especially if they're gassing it, Colombian necktie not being understood. Of course they're going to see something like that and make unrealistic ideas about it.
Forget all that DN whatever stuff. I don't understand what that means. But I saw a handshake and heard the word Colombian necktie, so I think
I may
Rozzie's not
know
doing so
DNA.
hot on this one.
I don't know DNA, but I know USA, and that guy is not a patriot.
They should have called Toby Keith as a witness.
Yeah, we have Garth Brooks coming to the stands.
Whatever you say, sir, Your Honor.
One other thing I want to mention is that I think a really strong thing they could have played in is that how the fuck could Ron Goldman's blood be in O.J. Simpson's place when they had never met ever?
Yeah.
They didn't know each other. Like, it's the most outrageous fucking thing.
It's outrageous, but the jury, like with the defense team, is throwing into question the entire validity of DNA as a concept. That's what the jury is like struggling with.
Yeah, but you could also just disregard DNA and just say, like, we found his blood. Like, we know it's his blood. It was signed by him. Like, you don't even need to go down
They
DNA
had that
validity.
nerd go up there, Fung, who they were like, was his blood found there? And what had happened is the DNA evidence was there, and Fung said, no, there's no visible blood, but there's DNA. And to the jury who doesn't understand DNA, it's like, oh, no blood? I guess it wasn't actually there.
DNA,
So
and he didn't like clarify.
Fung should have clarified that blood DNA can be present without presence of blood, but he didn't. And then he goes and shakes the prosecution. What this feels like, you know in high school when your school was going to go up against like crappy schools that were like they're being straight, and then you end up losing the game because you underestimated like the bad kids, you know, the bad team or whatever. That's what this feels like. It feels like they were like, oh, this is a breeze of a case, don't need to worry about it.
Gledao sam nešto. Suđenje onome uze O.J. Simpson.
Ozbiljno?
A, u suštini to ti je stara veza što se desilo. Da.
A što su
On je bio nekad, pa bio je ragbista, ono, sportista ovo ono, pa mu je karijera propala. Pa je onda bio u reklamama u par filmova. I jeben ga da je navodno ubio ženu i nekog za kog se sumnja da je kao ljubavnik od žene, kao neki random šut, nebitno skroz.
Umro od kancera, rekao.
Ja mislim da je tako bilo nešto. Da.
Ne, pročitao sam nešto.
Sad ne znam da li je uopšte dokazano da je bio the killer. Znaš ono, nedostatak dokaza držne da je te gluposti. Ko zna?
Si igrao nešto?
Nisam igrao ništa. Došao sam s posla skoro. Bravo, nema metak. Hello? Mimik? Probavam da vidim kakva mi je konekcija, kako radi. Gdje? Maraš pređu kjela jednu. Jo, kasno.
Tako. Danas mi crashao kod, igrao sam i crashao mi 4 puta u quick playu.
To možda serveri su pitanje, ne mora biti i tvoji.
A ne, moguće da je mijavka na ovih dana prethodnih ništa nije crashao.
Meni se dešavalo bilo 2-3 puta u toku dana da mi crashuje kad igramo kod zombi. Samo u random ti izbaci.
Da, samo ti izbaci. Znači, ne piše ti ni onaj,
nema
kako se
error.
zove. Nema error ništa, nego samo izbaci igre.
Evo, to je to. Dosta si igrao. Što si igrao, igrao si.
Extraction point marked.
Bili danas momci da postave ovu opremu za optički internet. Hvala, sad mogu da plaćam još jedan internet. Pošto one nisam još otkazao. Zato što sam vezan ugovorom, znaš. Super. Bio da otkažem ugovor i da ostavim samo ono IPTV, znaš. Ja rekao, dobro, no problem.
Ok, tipo, ok.
Koliko plaćam?
Apsolutno.
3100 dinara.
Sorry, možda i više.
Pa ako plaćaš i TV.
Da.
Ja sam plaćam nešto. Samo plaćam net, pošto moj šale kaže nemaju kako se zove ono čudo. Teletek. Te njemu ne odgovara, ja rekao dobro, ja ti neću plaćati, hvala.
Clustermine, set!
Bum.
Sad ću ti činiti.
Extraction point marked. Disregard.
Deadbolt actual. Feed just went black on a few of my class ones. Working on routing some replacements, but I don't like this.
Technology.
Back to strike team. I read you. Airlift inbound.
Sad da vidim kako imam izgubljenih frame-a. Da li bitter je dobar, da što da ne spavim.
Koje smjena sutra radiš?
Ne imam plaćen odmor.
Ok. Ti si dobar je.
Here. Seth. Here. Seth. Here. Seth. Here. Here. Seth. Here. Seth. Seth. Here. Here. Seth. Seth.
Hit rate seems good.
Seth. Here. Seth. Here. Seth.
Off
Here.
to bed.
Seth. Here. Here. Seth. Seth here, 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 Seth here.
See you after my mini vacation.
Utorak i sredu sam na kao nekom mini godišnjem odmoru. Firma plaća.